My first camera was a Nikon D3400 with a 35mm lens, crop sensor camera. I loved that camera. I wish I never got rid of it, to be honest. The first camera I ever used, though, was a Canon T3i, I believe. I went to go visit my friend Shane after, some stuff. So I was just like, I need to get out of Somerville for a little minute and like clear my head. And, Shane does photography, and I've always looked at him as like a great photographer, but I've never been like, oh, I want to take photos. But I don't know what it was that day. He handed me that camera, the Canon, and we were at a park near Columbia, Sequential or something. I don't remember. We went out there and I took some pictures, and I went back and I looked at them and I showed, some family members and some friends, and they just said like, these were really good. These looked really cool. And like the more and more people that I showed and the more that I thought about it, I was like, I really enjoyed that. Like I haven't really ever felt I didn't really have to like think about it. I just like did it. You know what I mean? And it made me happy just doing that. And that's continued to today, when I take pictures of people, when I take pictures of concerts and doing things, that brings me happiness. And that's why I started, and that's really why I continue to do it. And, I don't think I'll ever stop taking pictures until it stops making me happy. Here we go. Don't text and drive, kids. It's illegal. Gotcha. Do you have your location on?
Let me check.
I sent mine, but I don't know if it does both of them. I mean, dude, like, quotes are quotes. Everybody got it from somebody. He said, so in his song, he says, they say you gotta put 10,000 hours in anything to be an expert at it. So he definitely got it from somebody else, but like, I got that from him.
It's new to me.
It's new to me. There's a refrigerator if you need a snack or a drink or something.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. This hour is basically, you put me wherever you want to put me.
Dope.
Direct me.
Awesome. Some people are very like, I want this certain thing.
I don't have that kind of image.
Vision. Yeah, I know.
Not
I
today,
feel ya.
like, not for what I'm trying to do yet.
So that's a loaded question. What makes a photo a good photo? So there's just easy things like composition, lighting, things like that obviously are just gonna make a photo look good. But I think like capturing emotion is probably my number one thing that makes a photo good. Like, do you feel something from that photo, whether it be a picture of a person or whether it be a picture of an animal or a plant or a flower, the water, sunset, anything I feel like is like, does it cause emotion? Beyond the, normal things of, are your settings correct, or, does your photo actually look good? I think that's what like makes a good picture. Sweet. I'm gonna cover those on the digital. I like those a lot. I just picked up film for real at like the beginning of this year. So I'd like to, go even farther with that. There's so much to learn with even just that itself. So I just think it's like so much more of like a capture of a moment than digital. You can take 1,000 digital photos of something and like, edit it and critique it and like do what you gotta do to it. But there's just something about like a film photo. I don't, edit my film photos, nothing wrong with it if that's what you do. But I just like the film to speak for itself and like the moment. And I think like shooting film is really a test to a photographer. Like, do you know what your camera's settings are? Do you know what you're like actually trying to capture? Like, it really boils down to like knowing what you're doing. And then like the film kind of does the rest, because like that's gonna, depending on what film you're using, is like what's gonna give it that specific style. And like I kind of like that combination of like thought process of like, okay, I'm gonna be a photographer, but like this film also has like its own role in it, and how it's gonna all like play out and combine. You know, there's a lot I'd like to do, but definitely would like to, you know, manifest some sort of professional business with this, not just being like a photographer, but some sort of like media or marketing company. But like getting into photography, I wasn't like, oh, like this is like who I'm inspired by. Like my friend Shane just took like really dope pictures, and like I really liked that. But like as I've grown as a photographer, I've gained like inspirations, if that makes any sense. Like I think Ethan, and then like Spencer, like Shot by Spencer, like Kevin Gates and Young Doss photographers. And then, you know, like nature photographers like David Yarrow. And then you have, you know, all like local great people, like the guy behind this camera, Art of Daniel Green, you know, Joey Lenz, like I don't want to leave anybody out. Who is Slim from Fayetteville, like he's dope as fuck. But you know, these are all people that I've like discovered along the path. I work with the wedding photographer Virgil Linnell. Him and my friend Shane are like the only reason I shoot film. Like I just think what they do with film is like breathtaking and amazing and phenomenal. And like, do I want to be a wedding photographer? No, but do I look up to him as like an inspiration? Because I like to shoot things, whether it's a rapper or, you know, a beautiful bride getting married or whatever. You know, I see beauty in all of that, and I kind of try to like not niche myself, which I know is such a like thing in photography and videography, is to like niche yourself, not to like switch fields here, but like I just don't really believe in that. I mean, like I guess you could look at me and say I have a niche as a portrait photographer, but like I like to shoot everything. I started photography just doing like landscapes, like just taking pictures of like my favorite things around Charleston. You know, I'm from here, so as cliche as it is, like what else are you supposed to do except take pictures of all the things that you grew up loving and being around? That's something like with landscapes I look at as like, could this stand as like a print or like something like that? Or even pictures of people, like could this stand as a print? Because you know, in the day and age that we live in right now, content is so like just consumed so rapidly through social media. It's like, you know, you can post 1 million pictures a year, but like, is anyone really gonna remember any of those pictures? And that's kind of like, to me, to anybody, to, you know, the top photographer in the world, to anybody, like, are those pictures gonna be remembered? And like, that's one thing like I really like about like prints, is like it's a physical thing that can be held like forever. You know, i.e. like, you know, obviously it might be damaged or like whatever, but you know, I think it's really important to like get your prints, you know, get your work printed, you know, whether it's people. You know, that's another thing I like about film, is whenever I get done with like a roll of film, sometimes, most of the times, I like to get the little prints done and like send them off to people, because it's just cool to have like a keepsake from like a shoot, because so many people, a lot of people, especially like artists, shoot all the time, so it's like, you know, cool to have something to take from there.
I think I'm gonna sit in the middle of this like an armchair. Oh. Sitting like on the fucking mold.
I like really like low highlights and high contrast to things, and I also love like really deep like bokehs. I mean, like I just think there's something about creating an image, like you just said, like creating something that is like close to what the eye is but enhanced, but at the same time like something that the eye couldn't like create, if that makes any sense, but not to the level where it's unimaginable. And somebody's actually said that to me before about my portraits, is that like I do a really good job of enhancing the colors, but not to the point where it's like unbelievable. Because I've seen things where it's like, okay, like obviously this is like way heavily overly edited, which isn't.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah.
I really like
Oh yeah, that's sick as shit.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, that might be the style that you're going for, like, which is cool, like some very like crazy, which is awesome. Like I love that. But like my style, like I just try to make it like very. Those will be funny.
Those
for
are
sure.
nice, funny pictures.
I think those are cool.
Those are very nice.
You want to like look off to like the left. It doesn't have to be like super intense or anything. Yeah, just like that. Perfect. I've never done this before, so I don't know if this is gonna work. But do you want to like move your glasses like up and down, like just like that? And then I'm gonna just like take a bunch of pictures of you doing that. Very enhanced, like you said, just very enhanced and like very detailed and like sharp and depth like just something a perspective. Give a I know this is, I know it's honestly you are, it's okay there, bud. I try to create something that the human eye wouldn't always just see, and even when I'm out shooting, I try to like keep that in mind. Like, well, what would happen if I got really low, or like what would happen if I got like this really weird angle to this? And I think that's where like a lot of my greatest pictures have come from, are like really abstract angles. If you were like upside down the stairs, like your head was down here and your feet were up there. We didn't clean up for you guys. This was cool. Hold. Fire. Boom. Alright. These actually look really fucking cool. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't really know. That big long thing would kind of define how my style is, you know? Just gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, you could sit here and you could say like I've invested X amount of dollars on my cameras or X amount of this, but like, can you really, yeah, like, can you give up the time? Can you give up the moments that you could have spent like doing this or doing that? And I think that's like one thing people don't really see with like photographers. Of course, we chose this, like we want to do this, and like you can say like, oh, you get paid for this or you get paid for that, but people don't see the unpaid struggle or like what it takes to even get like people to notice and care about you. And like that's like the hardest part really, is like, you know, when I first started doing photography 2 years ago, it was probably like 6 months until I started like actually shooting portraits, and I really started shooting like artists and like concerts. And so like I would go to school and go to work and go shoot a show and get those pictures done that night for free and get those people their pictures back. And like, you know, it's all love. Like I appreciate those people, because without those people I wouldn't have even ever like got any foothold or any starting. But like I feel like people don't see that side of things. They're just like, oh well, how much did your camera cost? Oh, so your camera takes good pictures? Like, nah, like, you know, I look even back at like, you know, my portfolio like 6 months ago versus like now, and it's like, I don't know, you can't teach like your own style. You can't teach like how you're gonna make things look, or like composition of things and stuff like that. And like, just really, I really do think like the hours and like what you put in like invest much more than like money ever could, if that makes any sense. Student Adobe Lightroom and all that is like $40 a month. So just multiply that by 12 times however long I've been doing this. And then, you know, all the camera gear, gas, you know, if I had to estimate how much I've probably invested in myself in like the last 2 years, like money wise, I'd probably say like $5,000. But like, you know, on top of that is like, I don't even know how many hours. I really don't, you know, on top of the hours of just grinding it out, to the sleepless nights of thinking of like, what do you gotta do, or like editing, or like, what am I gonna do to make this or that better, or like how I'm gonna do this. Watching YouTube videos, you know, it's one of my favorite rappers says you have to put 10,000 hours into anything to become an expert at it. So we'll just keep going until there, you know, and then keep going after that.